Nicole, how does this translate into our software? So, we support absence, leave, accommodations, we support all of it. How does it difference, between going from federal ADA to the PWFA to accommodation requests? Like, how do we handle that from a technology perspective?
Yeah, well, just simply said, like our system is smart enough to know the type of leaves that an employee, may be eligible for. So, within the FINEOS application, our system is able to decipher the differences between leave, FMLA, ADA, Fed ADA, and PWFA.
Love a smart system. So, Lori, back to you. And this is one of those where you get a little nervous. So, when a common mistake happens, how does that get employers in trouble?
Yeah, so there's a few really kind of big types of violations which have been in the news over the past few years. So I'll kind of focus on that, things that are more common than not for employers to find themselves in hot water. So one that I want to mention is attendance point systems. So this is something that we see come up a lot if you're keeping track of EEOC consent decrees and judgments. Attendance point systems, this is where an employer disciplines an employee based on set number of absences or tardiness. So, for example, an employer might say, you get X number of unexcused absences or even excused absences. And after that, we start docking you. And when you get to a certain point, you're terminated. That's the end. So those can conflict with the ADA and the PWFA's inherent concept of flexibility and individualized processes. So under the ADA, which we've talked about, the employers have to provide a reasonable accommodation, which can include additional leave or absences beyond standard policies. So if an attendance point system automatically penalizes an employee for absences that are related to a disability without considering whether those absences are protected under the ADA or PWFA, it can violate those laws. So a key issue to consider is a lack of individualized assessment. So automatically applying points without evaluating whether the absences are for disability-related conditions ignores the ADA's requirement for an interactive process. And on top of that, a flat refusal to allow leave beyond a strict limit or counting medical absences towards that limit can be considered a failure to provide a reasonable accommodation and have that interactive process. So if the system is punishing employees for using a legally protected right to an accommodation, that is going to get an employer in hot water. The EEOC has repeatedly enforced its rules. There's been high-profile cases about it where no-fault attendance policies have failed to exempt disability-related absences. And so these policies, which I think a lot of employers think, well, this is neutral. Like we're not discriminating against anyone. It doesn't matter what your absence is. But that is not neutral, actually, because, that is penalizing employees who may be having a need for accommodation under disability or PWFA, which is their legally protected right under the ADA and PWFA. So, those point systems are a big one that we look out for.